Hi everyone, I'm Walnut, and today we're going to be doing some more battles on the Scarlet and Violet ranked ladder, with the same team as last time, but I'll be bringing Dondozo and Tatsugiri more. Team information is going to be in the description below, including a rental code if you'd like to try the team out for yourself. I almost didn't include the first battle because I will not be bringing Dondozo Tatsugiri, but I thought the battle was very interesting so I included it anyways. The opponent has Gengar, Talonflame, Oranguru, Rotom Wash, Salamence, and Heracross. Salamence has been seeing some more use lately, but I'm not too sure what set they'll be running, though I am expecting Intimidate. Salamence can run a special set like the team that won the San Diego Regional, but that set ran Draco, Meteor, and Hurricane with Pelipper on the team, and I'm not seeing a Pelipper. Heracross is a bit of a wild card. I could see it having a Sash or a Status Orb if it's running Guts, or a choice item, though Gengar also wants that Sash. I'm going to be leading Dragonite and Talonflame as I think Dragonite has a pretty good matchup into most of their mons, and Talonflame will let me get speed control by setting up Tailwind. The opponent has Rotom Wash, which kind of walls Dondozo and threatens both the Water and Terra Flying type with electric moves, as well as potentially carrying Haze on Gengar, and they could just Intimidate cycle me with Salamence. So I'm not going to bring Dondozo Tatsugiri, and instead have Meowscarada and Gholdengo in the back. Meowscarada does well into Rotom Wash and can also threaten Gengar, while Gholdengo lets me have another damage option, and has a lot of coverage to deal with any potential Terras. Our opponent leads Talonflame and Salamence, so I'm pretty happy with my lead matchup here. I'm a little surprised that I don't see an Intimidate, so my Dragonite's looking pretty strong in this position. I checked the calc and assuming no bulk, Dragonite will be able to knock out Talonflame with a Terra Normal Extreme Speed. Terra Normal also helps me defensively versus any move the Salamence throws at me and should let me establish speed control by denying them Tailwind. Unfortunately, their Talonflame appears to be max HP and lives the hit, ruining my entire plan. My Talonflame sets up Tailwind, while their Salamence lands a critical hit Dragon Claw into my Dragonite. Their Talonflame then sets up Tailwind that I was trying to deny, so unfortunately my mons are probably going to be slower. Although Terra Normal Extreme Speed and Brave Bird should KO Salamence, I don't want to keep Dragonite in here locked into Extreme Speed, so I switched to Gholdengo. I'm going to be Wisping with Talonflame into the Salamence slot, so hopefully it burns it, or a potential Gengar switch in, but it should protect my Gholdengo. I'm not too worried about the Talonflame here, as I don't think it'll be targeting my Dragonite slot with a fire move, so I ignore it this turn, while it charges into my Talonflame and knocks itself out because I am the biggest bird. Based on the damage rule, the Talonflame was actually max HP, max attack, which is kind of weird. Unfortunately, Salamence was not burned, but I didn't get a hit on Gholdengo, which is nice. However, their Talonflame fainted, so they get a free switch to their Gengar. So Talonflame's the fastest on the field here, so I'm going to prioritize breaking the Gengar's Sash. However, Gholdengo's in a pretty bad spot. Gengar's going to outspeed and throw a Shadow Ball, and since I can't Terra anymore, Gholdengo's basically guaranteed to faint. In hindsight, I think it would have been better to Brave Bird the Salamence in this position, as the recoil would not be able to knock myself out, and I could go for a Brave Bird into Gengar next turn. If Salamence targets Talonflame this turn, Gholdengo would have lived and could get off a huge Make It Rain, but my opponents double into the Gholdengo and I knock myself out, leaving me with just Dragonite and Meowscarada in the back. This turn, I misplay again and I lose myself a winnable game, but I am a little bit tilted from the first turn and not thinking super clearly. I sucker punched into the Gengar slot, though I think I should have just knocked off, as I outspeed and Scarf Shadow Ball isn't threatening my mons. Salamence then goes for a dual Wing Beat into my Meowscarada and knocks me out, but I locked Ice Spinner into the Salamence with Dragonite, but I think I should have locked Extreme Speed instead. The damage calculator I was using automatically applied Intimidate, so the range looked a lot lower, but even so, considering the potential last slot Pokemon that they could have, I should have just went for the Extreme Speed anyways. I do get the KO here, and the opponent will be sending in their last Pokemon. And our Tailwinds are going to end, but since they started at the same time, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, the opponent's in Heracross here, but I'm locked into Ice Spinner, and I'm a normal type now, so any fighting type move Heracross is gonna be using will be knocking me out. Extreme Speed, I believe, would kill a Heracross that's not having any bulk, but unfortunately we do misplay a bit, but I'm alright with this game. The opponent never used their Terra, so the Heracross could have been Terra Ghost the whole time, and in that case, if I did lock in Extreme Speed, I would have lost anyways. Interesting battle nonetheless, and by reviewing the battle in this way, I'm able to identify my misplays and learn from my mistakes. This next battle is against a team I'm definitely feeling more comfortable against. The opponents bring in Mimikyu, Meowscarada, Dragonite, Volcarona, Sylveon, and Kingambit. Mimikyu was also used a bit at the San Diego Regional and was on the winning team, and I think it's really interesting because of the disguise ability. For their team, I think that the Mimikyu is probably going to be a lead Trick Room setter, so I want my lead to be able to deal with that. I'm going to be bringing Tatsugiri and Gholdengo as Choice Scarf Icy Wind with Make It Rain seems really powerful here. And they don't really have anyone who could take that, they don't have Wide Guard. Leading Tatsugiri will also force a bit of a mind game with my opponent. If they have someone who can KO Tatsugiri and I switch into Dondozo, their attacks into the Tatsugiri spot will just get wasted. And the opponent doesn't really have many Dondozo answers besides Meowscarada Flower Trick and maybe a Curse from Mimikyu, so I feel really comfortable bringing that. And then in the last saw, I'll just bring Dragonite, as Extreme Speed does pretty well into most of their mons. So our opponent's going to be leading Dragonite and Mimikyu here, so my Gholdengo Tatsugiri lead is looking great. Choice Band Paranormal E-Speed would one-hit KO my Tatsugiri, but like I said, it's a bit of a mind game here. But if they do go for that, my Gholdengo's looking really safe this turn, and Dragonite will just die from Make It Rain. I go for a Terra on Gholdengo just in case Dragonite happens to be Assault Vest or just to do extra damage into a switch-in. So Tatsugiri gets off Icy Wind, breaks Mimikyu's disguise, and drops their speed. So unfortunately for my opponent, they can only sit and watch as my Gholdengo is going to be wiping their mons off the face of the earth with a very powerful Make It Rain. And I'm going to be getting a huge double KO on this first turn, putting me in a very powerful position. I don't have Terra anymore, but I have 4 Pokemon left with full HP, so I'm feeling very safe here. Alright, and our opponent is going to be sending in their last 2 mons, and it's going to be Sylveon as one of them. And the other slot's going to be Meowscarada, so not too worried considering who I have in the back. My opponent's going to Terra their Sylveon here, but I'm just going to keep clicking the moves I'm locked into. They go for a Terra Water to live the Make It Rain, but Terra Water is not really a threat to any of my Pokemon offensively. Meowscarada is still going to be faster than my Gholdengo after the Icy Wind, but it really doesn't matter as Knockoff is not going to do much to my Terra Steel Gholdengo. Knockoff comes in and it doesn't even do half, so I'm going to get off the Make It Rain here and knock it out. Sylveon is definitely going to live very healthy. But now we're in a 4v1 versus my opponent Sylveon. I kind of expect them to forfeit in this position. Sylveon's going to go for the Hyper Voice, so it doesn't even knock out my Tatsugiri. My opponent doesn't forfeit, but I'm going to switch Gholdengo out. Although I don't have specs anymore, I don't think Thunderbolt would knock out Sylveon at -2 special attack, so I'm just going to make the safe play here and switch out and bring in Dondozo. And this will activate Commander, and my opponent has to sit and watch as I get all my stat boosts, and you know, they definitely know they lost at this point, but I wasn't really in a position to take the KO anyways, so yeah, they would just go for a Terra Blast into my Dondozo, and it does very little damage, and our opponent's going to be forfeiting. Sorry about any of the, I guess, display quality issues with Terra attacks. I think it's a little bit too much for the capture card to handle that I have, but hopefully you guys don't mind too much. Just close your eyes or something. I'm pretty happy with how I played there, but a big part of the win was that aggressive first turn play, which really paid off for me. Our next opponent is going to be using Dondozo, Tatsugiri with Gholdengo, Palmot Arcanine, and Meowscarada. I want to bring Meowscarada here as it's a pretty good matchup versus Dondozo and Gholdengo. Protect also helps me if they have a fake out Palmot in the lead. I'm also going to be bringing Dragonite as I think Spread Earthquake is going to be good for Gholdengo, Palmot, and Arcanine, and Extreme Speed does pretty good into the rest of their team. I'm actually going to bring Tatsugiri here without the Dondozo. We're going to leave Dondozo at home, and it's just because I don't feel too confident in the Dondozo mirror here, considering some of the other mons on their team, and I do want to practice using them as separate units more. Tatsugiri with Choice Scarf will outspeed everything on their team, and Draco Meteor would do pretty good against their Dondozo because the Unaware ability also ignores my stat drops, so I'll be able to just use that over and over without any decrease in damage. And so that's why I think it'll be a little more powerful without the Dondozo on my team. Lastly, I'm going to be bringing Talonflame as I think the priority Gale Wings will be useful, and it would be able to outspeed Dondozo before any order up boosts, and I could land a burn on it and just kind of reduce any of the attack increases. I don't really want to bring Gholdengo versus this team as they have Arcanine and Meowscarada to pressure it, and I would lose the Gholdengo mirror if I didn't Terra or have Tailwind up. So my opponent is going to be leading Tatsugiri and Meowscarada, and the way they're leading the Tatsugiri really hints to me that it's probably Scarf. I decide to go for the Terra Normal Extreme Speed with Dragonite into the Tatsugiri to hopefully knock it out before Dondozo can switch in. I switch in the Talonflame instead of just pinning the potential Dondozo switch in with Meowscarada, because Talonflame doesn't do too poorly versus Dondozo, because I can just outspeed and Will-O-Wisp it, and I can also eat hits from Meowscarada much better with the bird. My opponent's actually going to go for the Terra here, and the Terra is going to be on the Meowscarada, but they're actually going to Terra into a Ghost type, most likely because they're scared of Extreme Speed getting a one-hit KO, but a pretty unusual type for Meowscarada to Terra into. So my Terra goes through, and the only way Tatsugiri is living this is if it happens to not be Scarfed, and my read is wrong, and if it has Protect, which is actually what Tatsugiri runs on some other teams that I've used. So the Extreme Speed will be knocking out Tatsugiri. It's not able to defend itself. This little sushi's gonna faint. And I'm so fast, I turned invisible for a second. Their Meowscarada actually goes for a U-turn into my Talonflame, which I easily eat, which really suggests to me that it's Banded Protean, especially since they have a Palmot on the team too, who also wants to hold a Focus Sash. Palmot comes in for Meowscarada, and they're going to be bringing in Meowscarada back in on the Tatsugiri slot. This turn I was a little bit scared of a fake out from Palmot, and I was considering like a Tailwind or maybe a Brave Bird into the Meowscarada, but instead I doubled into the Palmot slot to cover for a Revival Blessing and expecting it to be Focus Sash. So Extreme Speed brings Palmot down to the Sash, and Brave Bird is able to finish off the Bipedal Pika Clone. Crit definitely mattered, by the way. So I lose Gale Wings here, but I didn't really need it in this situation anyways. Meowscarada knocks off my Choice Band for a little bit of damage, but it's not too much. I'm really not scared from this position. They're gonna reveal Dondozo in the back. I think Palmot was definitely going for a Revival Blessing there to bring back the Tatsugiri, and I'm glad I Brave Birded. But at this point, Dondozo's not really threatening, and the knockoffs aren't doing enough damage, so I think my opponent's gonna forfeit here. And they do. And we get our second win in just 2 turns. Although I didn't get to use Tatsugiri in this battle, I think it was still a good bring for me, as since they had the Dondozo in the back, I would be able to just throw off Draco Meteors into it and not have to worry about the attack drops. So this next team has some very popular and common Pokemon. It's rocking the Gholdengo Murkrow Hydreigon core, which can be really powerful with Prankster Tailwind setup, and Haze to remove any special attack drops from Make It Rain or Draco Meteor. Annihilape is most likely the final Gambit variant, as this team doesn't look like it has any support mons like Grimmsnarl to help the bulk up variant. This team also doesn't look like it has many answers to Dondozo and Tatsugiri, besides Murkrow and potentially Thunderbolt on Gholdengo, which would do a lot of damage. But I'm going to be bringing Dragonite and Tatsugiri in the lead, as I think Tatsugiri can either act as bait, or just deal a lot of damage versus my opponent. I'm going to be bringing Dondozo in the back, as it should do fine if I'm able to eliminate the threats to it before it comes out. And in my last slot, I'm going to be bringing Gholdengo because I want to make sure that the Murkrow faints, and I think Murkrow has the best shot at making that happen. I was considering Talonflame as well, but I don't think Talonflame will be too useful here. It could be good for priority Gale Wings Brave Bird, such as into the Annihilate lead. I could just Brave Bird it before it final Gambits and reduce the damage. But I think it would probably struggle against the rest of their team. Meowscarada doesn't look too reliable versus the team with 2 dragons, and if I'm not bringing my own speed control, I'm probably not gonna get my hits in or deal too much damage. I'm pretty happy with bringing Gholdengo here. My opponent has a really nice trainer card though. And their leads are gonna be Annihilate and Murkrow. And I'm just gonna be expecting a Tailwind final Gambit from their side. I'm gonna be targeting an Ice Spinner into Murkrow and a Draco Meteor into Annihilate. They're going to be going for exactly what I expect, as the Annihilate final Gambits into my Dragonite. In hindsight, I think it would have been a better move to go for extreme speed on the Murkrow and then switch Tatsugiri for Gholdengo. This way I would still get damage into the Murkrow, and my Tatsugiri would be safe for the Dondozo win. The Draco Meteor does get redirected into the Murkrow, however, and I get some good damage. I'm going to be bringing in Gholdengo here for the Dragonite, and they're going to be doing the same. But since they have the Tailwind up, my Gholdengo is kind of in a worse position here, because I'm basically forced to Terra if I want to live. So this turn I go for the switch on Tatsugiri, as I want to reset my stat drops from Draco Meteor, and I want Dondozo in first. I know Wave Crash from boosted Dondozo will be knocking out Gholdengo, so I'm going to ignore that slot for now. I'm going to go for the Terra here just to make sure I live, the potential Shadow Ball from their Gholdengo, but they're actually going to go for a Thunderbolt onto my Terra Steel Gholdengo. Murkrow's going to go for a Foul Play on Gholdengo, but I did catch a 0 attack IV one, so it's not going to be doing too much damage. I go for a Thunderbolt to knock out the Murkrow. I also checked the calc, and even if my opponent went for Shadow Ball there, my Gholdengo is guaranteed to live after the Terra, and the Foul Play as well. So after I finish off the Murkrow with Thunderbolt, the gates are basically open for my Dondozo. He's going to be able to take down their team, as their last Pokemon is Dragonite. At this point, my Dondozo should be in a good position to start getting KOs. I do want to preserve my Gholdengo just in case, as I can still use it even though it's not max speed, because Tatsugiri's Choice Scarf has been reset, so I could get off Icy Winds in the late game if Dondozo happens to go down. I didn't protect my Dondozo in this position because even though I could stall a turn of Tailwind, I wanted the opportunity for my opponent to miss if they targeted the Gholdengo. In hindsight, that most likely wouldn't happen, as the Gholdengo is locked into Thunderbolt here and not especially threatening to either of their Pokemon. But I'm going to be switching in Tatsugiri and giving my Dondozo the Commander boost, and they're going to Terra Normal their Dragonite. With these defense boosts, Dondozo is actually going to be able to live the attacks that are coming into it. The extreme speed actually does very little damage here. I'm not sure if they're not max attack or maybe it was a min roll, but very little damage, so my Wave Crash is going to knock out the Gholdengo, but we're actually going to live on a sliver of HP. I don't think it really matters too much. This turn is when I decide to protect to make sure I get any leftover healing and just stall at that last turn of Tailwind and also see what they do. My HP is lower than the amount they did on their first extreme speed, and they could just knock me out with another, but I do have that Tatsugiri, so I could just go for an Icy Wind once it pops out, and maybe like a Make It Rain, something like that. Both of those being single target would do a ton of damage and just clean the battle up. So with that, we get 3 wins and 1 loss today. If you guys made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. I decided to go for a different format compared to my first video, so let me know if you like this one more, or if you have any suggestions for me. Just leave them in the comments below. I would really appreciate if you liked and subscribed, as I am just starting out and every little bit of support is very encouraging. I hope to see you guys next time, and until then, bye bye.